Okay, so in this presentation, I'm going to be talking about President Carter's Presidential Commission on Mental Health. In order to do so, first I'm going to address what exactly a presidential commission is. So, a presidential commission is a special task force that is put together in order to address a problem or in order to investigate further. For example, before President Carter's Presidential Commission on Mental Health, there were commissions that were focused on things like the status of women in the country, migratory labor and the issues with that, and an investigation into the attack on Pearl Harbor. This Presidential Commission on Mental Health was very unique because it addressed mental health in the country, and it also reframed how we looked at mental health. Before, mental health was commonly referred to as mental illness or something more derogatory than that, and just using the term mental health showed that Carter understood how deeply rooted these issues were in America. So this commission wanted to address the role the environment played on mental health issues, and it wanted to address the social services that it was providing in the country. You know, the country was providing social services. And it also wanted to address how to prevent further issues with mental health. On February 17th, 1977, about a month after he was in office, he put an executive order through in order to have this Presidential Commission on Mental Health. He wanted to do it through an executive order, so it didn't take years for it to be able to form by passing where it needed to pass. This is President Carter on the left over here. Before he was the president, he was the governor of Georgia. He had a commission in Georgia as well that addressed some mental health issues, and it worked pretty well. So who were they? The Presidential Commission on Mental Health was full of 20 members, 12 of them men, 8 women. There were 3 African Americans, 2 Hispanics, and 1 Native American. As you can see, it was pretty diverse. The backgrounds ranged across the board, so there were many psychiatrists, some lawyers, a couple activists, and a labor leader. This diverse background and diverse member team was really important to them because mental health doesn't affect just a certain percentage of the population. It affects everybody across the board. It doesn't matter if they're rich or poor, what color they are. It doesn't matter what their background is, how they grew up. Mental health affects everyone, no matter what. So they wanted to make sure they were able to address any of the issues with backgrounds that could help them do so. What did they do? Well, in the forming, they wanted to be able to address these 7 issues that are listed below. So they wanted to know if the areas were either being served or underserved and how to address that. They wanted to know what the needs for emotional stress in people suffering from mental health issues would be in the next 25 years and also how to address those needs. They wanted to know that the federal government either should play a role or should not play a role and what exactly that role would look like for them. They wanted a unified approach to mental health services instead of the varying services that they were able to get before this with many different kind of community healthcare centers, the inpatient units at the hospital, etc. They knew that research was needed, but they wanted to know what kind of research would further help them address this issue. They wanted to minimize emotional disturbance among people suffering from mental health issues, and they wanted to know how much it would cost to change the system, and then, if there was funding, how this funding would be allocated among the 3 levels of government, at the federal level, the state level, and the local level. The outcome. So they only served until December 28th, 1978, so that's about a year and a half, a little bit over. At the very end of the commission, they put together a very long piece of paper. It was about 500 pages in order to give it to the president. They had to dwindle down this 500-page paper into stuff that was very necessary for him to understand. So this is what they call the final report. This is what they based the law off of. So in that final report, it addressed that the country still had inadequate care among many different people, such as those suffering from chronic mental illness issues, children, adolescents, elderly, minorities, and people that lived in rural areas. It showed that even the areas that had some services lacked a broad range of services, so even if they could get assistance for food, they couldn't necessarily get assistance for housing or daycare or any of their other needs. This report also endorsed that a federal program should be created in order to address the mental health issues in the country. It said that they wanted affordable and accessible, high-quality health care available, and that all future and old plans include emergency, outpatient, and inpatient care coverage. This last one was pretty important to them because anybody that was getting help for mental health services, generally their insurance plan did not pay for it. So, of course, if you can't get stuff paid for, and if you're poor, you're not going to go get the help that you need. So from this final report, there was a lot of deliberation, and it took a really long time, about 1.5 years, in order to pass anything, but they finally passed the Mental Health Systems Act, which was there to provide grants to any community mental health care centers so that they could further address the needs in their community, so that they could serve the people that actually need help. This Systems Act was reversed as soon as Reagan took office, shortly after it was enacted. So overall, the act that happened from this Presidential Commission on Mental Health didn't stay for so long, but it helped reframe how we thought about mental health in general. It was a huge step forward that we stopped thinking about it as a mental illness and more along mental health, because that focuses on the role that everything else can play in that individual's life instead of them having problems that need solved. I hope you guys learned something, and the following page are my works cited. Thanks.